The Galactic Council had one ironclad rule. Humans were not permitted in advanced theoretical physics divisions. It wasn't personal, the Zetharian administrators claimed. It was simply that humanity, barely 2 centuries into space travel, lacked the cognitive architecture for higher dimensional mathematics. Their brains, evolved on a single gravity well, couldn't grasp the elegant complexities that came naturally to species who'd navigated quantum foam for millennia. Eva Martinez had heard this excuse her entire academic career. She'd heard it when she applied to the Andromeda Institute. She'd heard it when her dissertation on recursive temporal loops was rejected without review. She'd heard it so many times that she'd stopped arguing and simply found another way forward. If they wouldn't let her research the stars, she'd catalog them instead. Work was beneath her qualifications. But it paid for her small quarters on Station Theta 9, and it kept her close to the kind of work she loved. Even if she could only observe it from behind administrative barriers. The mistake happened on a Tuesday. If one could call the arbitrary cycle division's Tuesday this far from Earth. Oliver Chun, the station's human resources coordinator, had been processing transfer requests for the new quantum mechanics project, the one developing faster-than-light communication through entangled wormholes. In his exhaustion after a double shift, he'd checked the wrong box on Ava's personnel file. Instead of transferring her to the archives subsection as intended, he'd accidentally assigned her to Lab 7, the restricted theoretical physics wing dot by the time anyone noticed. Eva had already been working there for 3 weeks. She'd assumed someone had finally recognized her credentials. The security clearance had activated when she'd pressed her palm to the scanner, so she'd walked through those pristine white corridors with her head high, determined to prove she belonged there. The other researchers, a Zetharian with crystalline thought cores, a Vexnari whose consciousness existed in 6 dimensions simultaneously, and a Krell whose species had been solving quantum equations before humans discovered. Fire had looked at her with something between confusion and disdain, but Eva had simply sat down at her assigned console and begun working. The project was stalled. For 8 months, the galaxy's brightest minds had been trying to stabilize a communication channel through a manufactured wormhole. The mathematics were theoretically sound, but every practical application resulted in catastrophic signal degradation. The transmitted data arrived as meaningless noise, scrambled beyond recognition. Eva spent her first week reviewing their work. She said nothing, asked no questions, simply absorbed terabytes of research, while the other scientists ignored her presence. They assumed she was lost, drowning in concepts beyond her primitive human brain. On her 15th day, she began making adjustments to the equations. The changes were small at first. A modification here, a coefficient adjustment there. She worked quietly, almost apologetically, half expecting someone to notice and throw her out. But the senior researchers were too focused on their own approaches, too certain that the solution would come from their sophisticated methodologies. Dr. Zixthara, the Zetharian team leader, was the first to notice something odd. The simulation Ava had been running on, the team had dismissed as a dead-end weeks ago, was suddenly producing stable results. Impossible results. Human, Zixthara's crystalline voice chimed. What have you done to the Harrington-Vex equations? Eva looked up from her console, her dark eyes meeting the alien's prismatic gaze. I simplified them. Simplified? The word came out as a harmonic of disbelief. These are 11th dimensional constructs. They cannot be simplified. They can if you're willing to abandon elegant symmetry for functional pragmatism, Eva replied, pulling up her work on the main display. You've all been treating the wormhole as a perfect mathematical construct, but it's not. It's a physical phenomenon occurring in imperfect space-time. The signal degradation isn't a flaw in your calculations, it's a feature of reality. So instead of fighting it, I incorporated it. The room had gone silent. Even the Vexnari, whose attention typically existed across multiple probability streams simultaneously, had focused entirely on Ava's presentation. You're suggesting we use the degradation as part of the encoding mechanism? The Krell researcher rumbled. Not suggesting. I've done it. Ava's fingers danced across the holographic interface. The noise isn't random. It follows a pattern based on the local quantum field fluctuations. If you encode your data to anticipate and incorporate those fluctuations, the signal doesn't degrade, it clarifies. The wormhole becomes part of the transmission method, not an obstacle to it. Dr. Zixthara moved closer, their thought cores pulsing with rapid calculations. This should not work, but it does. Ava pulled up the test results. I've run it through 10,000 simulations. 98% transmission fidelity across a theoretical distance of 15,000 light-years. The implications were staggering. The other researchers crowded around the display, their various forms of shock and excitement filling the lab with alien exclamations. The Vieshnari's probability calculations confirmed what Eva had discovered. The Krell's ancient wisdom recognized the elegant simplicity of it. They'd been looking for a complex solution to match the complexity of the problem. Ava had found a simple one because she didn't have the baggage of 1,000 years of theoretical tradition. She'd approached it like a human, practical, adaptable, and willing to work with reality's imperfections rather than against them. Oliver discovered his mistake that afternoon when the station commander called him into her office. He'd expected termination. Instead, he found Eva there, along with the entire senior research staff of Lab 7. Mr. Chun, Commander Vexrath said, her translator rendering her clicks and whistles into standard. Your paperwork error has resulted in the most significant breakthrough in faster-than-light communication in 3 centuries. Oliver's face went pale. I can explain. Dr. Martinez has been formally appointed to the Theoretical Physics Division. The commander continued. Her contract has been upgraded, and the Galactic Council has requested a full review of its policies regarding human researchers in advanced scientific fields. Eva caught Oliver's eye and smiled. Thank you, she mouthed silently. That night, as news of the discovery spread through the station, Eva stood at the observation deck, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, her equations would let civilizations talk across the void. All because someone had checked the wrong box dot. Sometimes the universe had a sense of humor. And sometimes, brilliance just needed an accident to set it free.